And now, Fernsproutstudios presents to you... Hey everyone, welcome back to Fernsproutstudios. My name is Zach. Today, I'm here with the crew. We are going to be introducing to you a brand new series. This is episode 1 of our video game book club. Today, here in the team and I, here they are. Say hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello. Yay.
We have brought to you episode 1 of our new podcast, video series, whatever you guys want to call it. I don't know what we're officially calling it, but it's the Fernsprout Video Game Book Club, where every month the team and I lock in and play a new game that hopefully none of us have ever heard about, or at least are not played, and then we come together and talk about it and discuss all of our thoughts and first impressions, or if we've had a history with the game, maybe a few of us do. Like today, we are actually going to be talking about Undertale. And funny enough, and with the hype of Deltarune coming out, it's a perfect timing to be talking about, the Undertale Toby Fox franchisee. We got a few topics we want to talk about, though, specifically Undertale. And this will happen for most games throughout this series, where we have, gut reactions, digging deeper about, our, fully fleshed out playthroughs, how much we played, what we thought, and then our end thoughts and impact when it came to finishing the game, if we did. So, without further ado, I think we're going to jump in. I don't know who wants to get started. I mean, yeah. Sean or someone else.
I challenge Nolan to start. He's got the most history of the game, and I think he's got a lot of burning opinions on it. I'd love for him to kick us off.
Sure, yeah. So when we first came up with this idea for the video game book club, I was like, yes, finally, I can get my friends to play Undertale, because a lot of, I think basically Brendan and Zach are the only ones who have played the game before, or at least have interfaced with it directly. Yeah. So this whole process has just been so rewarding for me, just to have everyone experience it and also validate that it's a great game. I first played Undertale when I think I was 15. It was basically, or 14 maybe. The game came out in 2015. So, at the time it was being played by a lot of YouTubers. I don't know if Markiplier did a playthrough.
Maybe? Yeah, something like that.
A lot of people I used to watch were talking about it, playing it. Part of that 2010s internet culture. Undertale was big with that. So I played through it myself. I remember it was pretty soon after I first got my my first PC. And for me, Toby Fox is a huge inspiration for me for working in with games, particularly the way he writes soundtracks.
True.
It's very RPGs are very influential to me in general. I'm a huge Pokemon fan. I used to play a lot of Pokemon when I was younger, and then Undertale was one of the first other RPGs that I played, and it had just such a beautiful soundtrack. So well made, everything connects super well.
I agree.
And so yeah, it's up until recently, I hadn't played basically since then. I had, interfaced a lot with the community. Although, the Undertale community is, it's questionable. it has a little bit of a stigma with it, but, I've always watched YouTube videos and, kept up with what's going on with the game. I've been playing Deltarune ever since all the chapters and iterations come out. I have not gotten to part 3 and 4 yet, but that will be happening later this week. But yeah, coming back to the game, there was actually a lot of things I didn't initially remember. And it was interesting to just go through the playthrough, do my own experience, and then I watched a lot of Cade and Jackson playing through the game, and that was really cool to see the different decisions they made, and also how their individual character just reflected on the choices that they made throughout the game. Right. I thought that was just really cool, and kind of stands to show how powerful of a experience that Toby Fox created with this game. yeah, that's my overview.
Yeah, so I had also played Undertale before. I had played it once through, so like I mean, many people wouldn't consider that a full completion of the game. And for this, I also played it once through. Um, and man, the music is so good. I had forgotten how good the music was.
Yeah.
I had listened to it a couple of times since, but honestly, listening to it just while doing other stuff or whatnot, like it's good, but it's just good. But then in game, when you're actually like playing the game, I'm just like bouncing
Yeah.
along to the music every single fight. There's I don't know exactly what it is, but the game must be doing a lot of things to keep the music
Right.
flowing and dynamic and really working
Right.
in combat. And also, it's probably also the fact that I'm like engaged with the music and the game that's happening.
No, for sure.
Yeah. In terms of narrative, though, one thing that I really had an appreciation for going through Undertale this time is how much it gets you to care about the characters. Because for the central premise of the story, caring about the characters in the world that you meet is absolutely vital. And just how expertly it makes these characters endearing and caring and people that you want to care about is amazing. Toby Fox, great writer and great music writer, I guess. Um, yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Well, I've played the first kind of right up till tutorial before many years ago. I remember I played that with Zach,
Yeah, that's right.
and so I kind of went into this game knowing some of like the fourth wall breaking like premise. And so I've also seen hints of the ending, like final screenshots and stuff. And so I was worried I would play through this and it wouldn't hit quite as hard. And I was surprised to find that it still hit very hard. I don't know. I think Brendan nailed it on the head. Like the characters are what make this game, or at least for me, and probably in addition to the music. But the characters, I think, are the
100%.
most important part and the thing that wants to keep make you keep going. And so I was completely impressed by that. And these seeing these characters online for a long time, I thought, and also kind of knowing the community around Undertale, I
Right.
thought I might not be able to connect with these characters. But I fell in love with all of them. And it's crazy how each one has just so much and is so completely different than the others.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was great. Music was obviously great. Coming into this game, only playing a portion of it, it was kind of fun to see because these songs are played everywhere, all over YouTube. So like,
Sure.
I played through this game. I'm like, oh, that's that YouTuber song. This guy always used that song.
Yeah.
So there was that. The final thing is just, and I love when games do this. He told his narrative through gameplay, and I love that. I love, like, it feels completely unique to the medium, and
Right.
not just in a way where you're like making decisions in a dialogue tree. How you play this game affects the ending, and I don't know, when games do that, I think that's like a huge achievement. So yeah. The other thing I'd eventually like to talk about is like the programming and stuff, and just
Yes.
We can dig deeper there.
but that'll be digging deeper. So I have thoughts on that. That's it.
Yeah, so this was a really cool game. I know that Nolan has been asking me to play this game for a long time, and he finally got his wish. This game has made me feel so many different ways, and there was a lot of days where I'd come home from a busy day at doing school or work, and I'd just be like, I don't want to do anything right now. And Nolan would be like, dude, load up Undertale, just do it. And I was like, okay. And I'd turn it on, and it would always be just like
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Your mic,
We lost.
your
It
mic,
doesn't
your
want me to talk about this game. It doesn't.
Yeah.
You loaded up when
You're-
you got home, and
Yeah, and it was just like, first of all, I want to like talk about the story. The story is just like, it hits the nail on the head. And I've heard some people say that they can't get into this game, but I think everyone generally says like that the story is really good. And it obviously depends on how you play the game, but like I got I think the neutral good ending or the good ending or whatever you'd call it, and that was just the best ending. And I didn't even want to go back and look at other endings. I didn't want to play any other endings. I'm like, I know every other ending sucks way worse than this one, and I was just so happy when I got that ending because actually when I was playing with my brother some nights, and he made me think that I couldn't get that ending because there was something at the start of the game or multiple things that I had to do to get it, and I just missed them. He's like, "Oh, you got to stay at level 1. You got to stay at level 1." I'm like, "Oh, I'm at level 1. Maybe I'll get it." But I did, and it was just so amazing, and the atmosphere in this game just which ties in with the music and the story just makes the game feel so immersive, especially the points where like the game brings you outside, and we're allowed to spoil right during this.
Yeah, this
yeah,
is going to be
yeah.
spoiler.
When the game brings you outside and closes it out when you're fighting Flowey and stuff, and just like bringing it like really into like reality is so cool.
Mhm.
And how that Flowey stuff ties into the end, and it's just like that I think was a really cool part of the game to play through. And yeah, the music, I'm a sucker for music and video games, and this game does not disappoint, let's just say.
Yeah.
It has really cool music for every part. Every part, the music enhances it. If someone played this game without the music, it wouldn't be the same game in any
Mhm.
way.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
that's what I have to say about it. I really, really like this game.
Sweet.
Sean.
I think I had a really unique experience playing this game just because I went in 100% blind. Like, I knew nothing about the ending, knew nothing about the gameplay, knew nothing about the characters, and it kind of opened up this world of RPG games to me that I really wasn't exposed to. Like, I didn't grow up
Really?
playing Pokemon like Nolan. I didn't grow up playing a lot of RPGs that fit more on this side of the RPG world. So when I jumped in, I sort of unknowingly triggered, which we'll talk about later, like the genocide run, because I'm like, okay, well, these guys are attacking me, and the pacifists like trying to, as I joked about it, like riz them and get them to leave me alone, was either taking too long or I was getting frustrated. And I was having fun with the actual like, okay, I have to time this perfectly and kind of game it, you know? And that was the world of RPGs that I was exposed to and I've known about. So I was like, okay, I'll just continue this path. Overall, though, like for me, what really carried my enjoyment of the game was the style and vibe and just the feeling you get as you're walking through the world, as well as the music being tied to that. And I think everyone's kind of said it already, but you know, it's really hard not to just be walking around and looking at things and just kind of being shaking your head and moving along with what you're doing and enjoying the experience of the adventure itself. You know, for me, on the other hand, I also come from a like I've always like been 50-50 with puzzles and not always having enjoyed puzzle-based games, but I thought the puzzles were really fun in this game and they were really engaging and they were entertaining to dig through and try and okay, how do I get through this one and how do I get through that? And you know, as someone who comes from like not really enjoying that world and getting tossed into a game where a huge portion of it is going through and dealing with all the different puzzles you're exposed to, it was a challenge for me. And you know, as we talked about later, like the genocide run as well is just difficult. Like they make the game harder for you, so it definitely made my playthrough pretty difficult, but I still hold such a high respect for the game, the art, the music, the style, the feeling, you know, everything across the board.
Yeah, so I came, you know, similar to Nolan, I came into this, you know, I guess a couple of months or a year after the release of the game. It could have been soon after the release. I mean, I was very much in that space where I bought the game, started playing it. What was this? What, 2016? I don't remember exactly what year it was, but little wee child I was, and I think, I mean, both reiterating what everyone has said and then my own thoughts, like this game has just opened my third eye to the world of from a narrative perspective, like lore and fourth wall breaking and characters and story and world building, and then the music and just all these elements come together that makes. I mean, this game does so well. And when I first saw this, I was like, this is something that when I was a kid, I was like, this is not something I did either. Like Sean, I was never a JRPG or RPG player. That wasn't my thing. I didn't care about it. I didn't like that kind of game. But this game turned it on its head and really showed me that, oh my God, I can like these characters. I can like the story and keep being engaged while also playing the puzzles and playing the fights. And the fights are actually interesting and compared to maybe, I don't know, like, I'm not trying to shame Pokemon here. There might be other forms of those kind of fights that aren't interesting to me. This game does it well, in my opinion, that I really enjoyed. And now coming back for our book club, game club, I enjoyed kind of reliving some of those and be like, yes, this is a mechanic that I enjoyed. And the music, like everyone has said, phenomenal. Toby Fox killed it. But same with the narrative. And then the characters, I 100% agree what Brendan said, and as everyone has said, just the characters really, really make you want to continue through this story, and you will love them to death. And even if you're fighting them, it's still a whole nother like way to view them. Like you maybe as a real person don't want to kill them, but you want to get this specific ending or something, and you feel bad doing it. And so it's phenomenal.
I think, like I said, I grew up playing a lot of Pokemon, and Pokemon is very, the gameplay is not super engaging all the time. You're kind of just doing the same thing over and over again. A lot of times you have to like really grind to like get your Pokemon leveled up and stuff like that. It's very like traditional. And so for me, like, yeah, the shake up with the gameplay, like the act system instead of fighting, is super cool. It was also, coming back to the game, I didn't remember how to interact specifically with all the different kinds of enemies, and so it was still a bit of a puzzle, kind of figuring out like the right thing to say and whatnot. Yeah, for me though, like a lot of times when I'm this is just for me, I everyone gets something different out of video games. Everyone is drawn to a particular thing. Some people are drawn to the entire experience. Some people are drawn to a particular aspect. And I like a bit of everything. I feel like generally, like when I'm playing games though, I'm most drawn to the world building, the story, characters, music. And so that's what's most compelling to me about this game. But it's kind of, having that that extra variation in the gameplay, that shake up, really adds just that bit of like spice, that bit of flavor that just makes the game so much more of a great and polished experience.
Bouncing off of that a little bit, I think that from what I understand of JRPGs, Undertale is a bit simple, perhaps, in terms of its mechanical complexity. And I think that's exactly what the game needed to be, right? It's not a game that's distinctly about its mechanics. The mechanics are there so that it can tell the story in the way that it wants to, right? And so in a lot of ways, we see the mechanics take a step back or take a back seat in order to let the narrative and the rest of the game be something that everyone, regardless of their understanding of JRPGs or mechanics, and their willingness to tackle complexity, regardless of anything about that, they can still come to and enjoy the game. And that's exactly what it needed to be, right? Things like how fighting the enemy and choosing to do the act system to talk to them is a very binary choice, right? But that's as complicated as it needs to be a choice that you're making, and it's a choice that you're constantly making while playing the game, which is also part of the reason it works so well, right? You're not just making it once and going, all right, I'm doing this now. You're making it again and again and again in every single fight. Right. So yeah, ultimately, I don't think it's anything super special mechanically, but it just uses its mechanics in ways that especially fit the game and what it's going for.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat as Zach, where I had never really played a JRPG before, and the ones I had, and so I think it sounds like I just need to play more JRPGs, but I've always viewed them, I've always associated them with Pokemon, and the decisions and like the mechanics in there are always very dull to me, and like I don't feel like I'm making any like important decisions. And it's not like this game changes that. It's just like it's almost kind of like a completely different format a little bit. And I just really like it because it's a puzzle and a bullet hell, at least if you're playing the pacifist route. And I like that. I don't think all the puzzles are very interesting or good. Some of them are, but a lot of the time the solution can just be like hit act, try try everything, and eventually you'll win the battle. And I think there's like a lot of room there to make something really interesting, particularly with his art style and his characters. Like, I love the idea of figuring out a character, and that's how you defeat them. Figure out what they're about, what their motivations are, and then figuring out. I don't know. That puzzle is really, really interesting to me, and sometimes it's like good. Most of the time, it's just kind of trial and error, which is a little dull, but and then the bullet hell I think is good. At least as a non JRPG enjoyer, that's something that I can kind of like. That's something real time and something I feel like I can enjoy. And I don't know. That was my take. I like, having played only a couple RPGs before this, the combat has always been the thing that loses me entirely, and so this was enjoyable enough for me to, and like attached to the narrative in a way that was really interesting. So yeah.
It's really a shame that the game didn't launch with controller support, and you have to mod that in, because bullet hells are generally better with controllers in my experience.
And I think they could like. I think everywhere in the game could use like a pass of polish, but like the move, like particularly the movement feels like very stiff in the bullet hell. I have not made a bullet hell before, but I would imagine a little bit of easing, just the tiniest bit, so you feel like I don't know. It feels very like you press arrow and it moves like 3 frames. Like it doesn't.
That's why the controller is super nice for the bullet hell, because you get an amount of like you can push it less.
Feedback.
I do want to say, I think on the console editions, there was a lot of polish features that were added. Especially the Nintendo Switch version actually has like exclusive content. Like an extra room. I can't remember what it is. I think it has to do with the
there's some fun value stuff. I think there was
something like that. I don't know. So but if that's a good point. I think the fact that it was a little like when I first downloaded the game, I had to like I ended up going with the controller, but then I was like I couldn't even map the arrow. It for movement you can only use arrow keys, not WASD, and I have like a super compact keyboard, so I had to get like a script to remap the arrow keys to WASD, which is kind of inconvenient. But it is what it is.
I found myself using the what's the part of the Xbox controller that's the
D-pad?
Yeah, the D-pad a lot. After I was like using the thumbstick, and it was just there are some battles where I was just like, this is messing me up. So I went to the D-pad. I don't know. I think there can be positives to doing the thumbsticks, but after a while I just felt like, especially when I really wanted to go diagonally, it was really hard to hit that on the thumbstick.
The reason I think is because it's not actually changing the fact that it's using arrow keys, right? It's still doing. You're either going left, right, or up and down.
You have a very narrow amount. That's
right.
diagonal. Yeah.
So if they actually like implemented controller support, then you can get that nicer diagonal feel.
Surprised no one has like brought or emulated over the support from the console versions to PC.
Yeah.
As a mod.
I mean,
Maybe that is a mod.
this gets into the code base conversation, but the code base, from what we understand, is an absolute mess. So that's probably why.
Yeah, what is it like? The whole game is written in a while loop or something? Yeah,
Something like
that's
that.
funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kate, I was gonna ask you. I know you do have to figure out characters in this game in the way of like, what at least when you're mercing or not mercing them, when you're choosing to like the options that aren't fighting, like what
Yeah.
to say or something, and you kind of have to learn the pattern there. But I was wondering what you meant by like learning the character then, if that's what we already have.
Like the mermaid horse guy who's like this is like the most
Yeah.
obvious example. Like he's flexing, I think it'd be more interesting if the answer wasn't so obviously to flex
Right.
back at him, but like I do like that in concept. Like, I look at this guy, I'm like, who is this guy? What is he about? Well, he's flexing, he's a weightlifter, maybe I should flex back.
There
or
was a
something.
character.
Like, I like that in concept. Yeah.
There was a character
Okay.
that had like a hat. I forget the name of the character, but they're like, I love my hat. They were saying that, and you like compliment hat, and then you would,
Yeah.
you'd have to do it a
And then
couple
he's
times,
like-
and then you'd be able to spare them, kind of thing, if you wanted to. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
exactly.
So
One of my
less like guidance from the game, and you more have to like guess what you should do.
I mean,
In terms of maybe making it better, maybe.
yeah,
But I think my favorite example is the one with the knights or like the guards that like each other and they don't say it,
Yeah.
and then you have to like convince each
Yeah.
other to like
yeah.
fall in love with each other. That's like the best one, I
That's
think, or
amazing.
one of the best ones.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I didn't do too much of the fighting with like enemies that would just pop up on your screen like JRPG style. Or
Oh,
RPG style,
you'd run
but,
away.
Yeah, I just run away every time.
Mm.
So I didn't really like see a lot of those, interactions. But yeah, I do agree. I think it would be cool if like every enemy or every time it's a grouped enemy, you can do something with the group
Yeah.
and make something
Yeah,
happen.
that's another good point too, because like a lot of the time you'll get groups of enemies later on, and then you just kind of have to like do them one at a time.
Yeah, it's like
and
one-
it is
Yeah.
fun when they're interacting with each other.
Yeah, it's like,
and-
oh, who do I knock out first? Who's going to be the
Yeah.
least annoying? The cool thing
Yeah.
about that, though, is you had to figure out which enemy was doing what attack and what was the most annoying thing to
Right.
take out first. And I thought that was kind of cool because,
Mhm.
like, there were times where, like, there were some attacks from multiple people that were just so, like, horrible, and you just had to, like, choose one of the worst people to eliminate
Right.
first and then go to the next ones. Yeah.
For sure. Sean, did you have any thoughts?
No, I mean, like we were saying earlier, I really hadn't been exposed to much JRPG or APGs in general on this side of the space. So it was really cool getting exposed to like the 4 options and trying to figure out which one made the most sense to do for each fight. And
Right.
I totally forgot about that moment, but Jackson, you're 100% right. When you're facing 2 people at once, figuring out which bullet hell is worse to deal with and then trying to focus on that person.
Right.
Because, there's a couple fights where I think I'm gonna what's his name? But yeah, just you're dealing with it for so long, and you're like, okay, I need to get rid of this one so I could just focus on the one that I actually can deal with easy. And but no, I find the actual like combat system really fun and entertaining, just because I was so like stuck in just the exploration and going through the puzzles, and then it was fun to go through that bullet hell process and like, okay, I got to move quick, got to get through this process. So I had fun with that. That was a super unique experience for me, just because I hadn't been on a much of a turn-by-turn fighting system, I guess if you want to call it that. But I thought it was really unique.
Yeah, Sean, I wanted to ask, since like I know that we were playing that one night and you were a little upset with the game. You were feeling like, you didn't really understand what your playstyle was going to be, and finding the vibe of the game. And I think you finished it, right? Did you?
I did not finish the full game. No.
You didn't. Has your opinions and thoughts changed since then? Like,
I would say it's mostly held the same, where I think this game is kind of brilliant, but it's not a game that I go out of my way to go play by myself, if that makes sense. Because it's just a lot of the aspects of this game aren't really my like cup of tea for games I typically pursue and play. whether it's, you know, the JRPG turn-based style fighting, you know, I'm not much of a, like, I feel like this game really rewards people who go explore and find every single nook and cranny of the map like you were playing. And I sometimes, if I really have to be in the perfect mood to be willing to do that, and a lot of times I'm not, you know, I'm definitely a boring dude when it comes to, I like first person shooters and boring action adventure games. So I kind of caught myself getting frustrated with myself with the game and not really frustrated with the game itself, if that makes sense. Because I was not taking full advantage of the full Undertale experience while playing it.
We'll turn you into a true gamer yet, Sean.
I know. I'm working on it. I'm trying my best. And I do still want to try and like finish through the game because I want to see the full ending, you know? Like I teased myself a little bit just so I could come in today and like understand what people were talking about, but I still want to go through the process and try and finish them.
I would love because I heard if you really did the genocide run, I haven't tried it or anything, but I saw like I saw one thing where like if you're doing the genocide run right, you get to Snowden, the first town, and it's completely empty. There's no characters, there's no music, like, and you walk through and it's a ghost town. Like, if that happened to you, like, I would be like, I do feel like you're missing, like, you know, the best part of the game.
Yeah.
So,
so I'd be
I'm
curious.
pretty sure.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm trying to remember if I got to Snowden. I'm pretty sure I did. Snowden
that's pretty
is
early
it kind
on.
of like a. Okay, so there were people in Snowden when I got there.
Okay.
So there were people when I got through Snowden, but I think the genocide run of what I've been experiencing is I did pretty much kill everyone that came my way, whether it was like a pop-up fight or a boss fight. Like, you know, I pretty much the first chance I had at killing like Azrael, like in the
Artorial.
Toriel in the ruins, I did. Like I basically immediately, I didn't spend any time there. Like it was, I could tell something was sus and just immediately.
You're like, I don't like this goat mom. I'm taking her out.
This goat woman is clearly holding me hostage.
I can definitely see that, and she's definitely suspicious. Like, why is she taking me in? What's going on here?
I was asking the questions like, what am I doing here? And she's like, oh, it's not safe for you out there. You're not allowed to leave.
Yeah.
You know? Don't go anywhere. I'm like, you're holding me hostage, you motherfucker. And I just
So that's very funny because like I read that very differently. I read it as her being overprotective.
Right.
I mean, like she is holding me hostage.
Sounds like what?
I gotta kill her.
How would
That's
we
what I'm
react
like-
in a real world situation?
Because, like, you have to remember, all I know about this game is you're in this underworld full of monsters, and this monster is, like, not letting me leave. Like, so I'm like, okay, you're clearly holding me hostage. you know? So that's why, like, I started on this path super unknowingly, just figuring, oh, this is probably normal. And it's just, you know, like, I killed, what's his name? The police chief or whatever his name is.
Sans.
Yeah. I killed Sans.
No.
The police chief?
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
Papyrus.
Papyrus,
Yeah,
not Sans.
Papyrus. I killed Papyrus the
Couldn't have
first
fought
chance I
Sans.
had.
Better. Yeah. That's crazy that you.
Killed Papyrus.
What did he do to you? What did he
He
do to
was the
you?
one that I almost didn't purely because like he kept giving me spaghetti.
Yeah,
like,
he's a
I
nice
thought that was
guy.
cute. But I was also
This
like,
guy's gotta go.
I feel like this is a boss fight. I probably
Yeah.
am supposed to kill
Kill
him,
the
right?
boss,
Like,
yeah.
you think. But that's what I mean by when I did like the big bulk of my playthrough, I knew nothing. I had spoke to nobody. Like I hadn't talked with Nolan yet about anything that was going on, and I just went through and just started murking everybody up until the first big boss fight, like the Undyne. Like everyone I could kill that I was able to, I did. So it was like a really weird exposure and experience. So
I think it makes sense why you did that though, not having experience with JRPGs before, because usually you don't have that option. It's just that's what you're usually supposed to do.
Yeah.
You're usually you can't like, I'll use Pokemon for experience. Or for example, if you're in a fight, you can never run away. Like it's like you
Yeah.
can only do one thing, and it kind of walks you through it more directly or holds your hand. And so, I mean, I don't think the way you did it is necessarily wrong, especially just because you didn't have that prior experience or
Yeah.
knowledge. I think I just want to say really quick, I think one of my favorite things is seeing that initial like I think that the tutorial experience is like one of my favorite things to observe. Both when I watched part of Cade's playthrough and Jackson's playthrough, where that's the first time in the game where it kind of makes you rethink how you're going about it, especially if you're going about it with as a traditional JRPG. Like it was so cool with Jackson to see it because he got to the fight. He was like, "Oh, I don't want to kill her, but it feels like that's the only way I can do it." He ended up killing her, and I don't know if I'm
How
And I
dare
did this
you,
2 times.
Jackson.
I played this game like 5 years ago, and I remembered that I did the same accident.
Oh my
And-
gosh.
And so, he killed her, and then he felt bad about it. I'm like, well, you can go back to your save file and redo it again. And then when he goes to talk to her, it's like you thought about telling Toriel that you saw her die, and Jackson was like, wait, what? and then the same thing when after you spare her and move through to leave the ruins, Flowey, confronts you. He's like, you're very clever, but I know what you did. And I think that was watching the reaction to that was really cool. Just to kind of keep going on that beat, I think it was just so cool. I mentioned this earlier, watching how everyone interacts differently with the game. Like with watching Jackson, it was cool to see him like investigate every single space he would get into. He would just do as much as he could to just interface with the environment. And that what's great about this game is it's totally rewards that. There's so many just like little Easter eggs and stuff that Toby Fox hid throughout the game.
My favorite, real quick, my favorite one is on the waterfall section. There's a puzzle where you have to like send this. I think it's like a lily pad. Yeah, and then
Yes.
so if you go to the like there's a spot at the bottom where you can like send the lily pads across to get to the sign in the middle of this river, and you go up to it. It's like, congratulations, you fucked the puzzle up. Go back.
Dude, I got so mad when I saw that. It pissed me off. Like, dude, I thought this was like a little story interlude, and
for me, I just made me laugh because I don't know. I love that kind of stuff, but yeah. It is still a reward for me. But
it's a reward.
Yeah,
it is a reward.
You're like, oh, that's funny.
And the game just does so much with tropes and to subvert expectations.
Yeah.
Like I can see why Sean had a very different experience without those expectations, because it kind of relies a lot on those expectations.
Yep.
In order to deliver the intended experience.
Yep.
I will say from a, if you play the game in a vacuum like Sean, it's gonna be a multiple playthrough experience if you really want the full with acquiring that context. Unlike me, who binged Jacksepticeye for a week when the game came out, and so my context was viewed elsewhere. I didn't want to play the game so much, and so I understand every little asset. But Sean, like, make a decision. So you have to go through it once and then come back like, all right, I can change things.
Sort of what I've kind of like truly why I've come to love and appreciate the game. Like I said, it's not something I go out of my way to play on my own, but I love the fact that it's so deep. Like I played it super surface level when I hopped in, and then obviously the more conversations I've had with Nolan and with Jackson as his playthrough, and it's proof that like I wasn't really watching that side of YouTube in the 2010s. Like it just wasn't the side that I was watching and exposed to, so I knew nothing about this game, like literally nothing. So it was a really weird experience, but
I feel like there's a perfect person out there who played this game in 2016 and they love JRPGs and they love they just played this game with just in a complete vacuum, and everything about it like fed into their play style. And so when they were like at the end, when it's like, hey, you missed this stuff, go back and play it again, like that was like, they were excited to do that.
Yeah.
At least in my case, I'm glad that I had some notion of what this game is about a little bit before going into it, because like I probably wouldn't. I would have no interest in going back and replaying the whole thing just to get an ending.
Depends on who you are, kind of thing. How you approach the media via the game itself or through external information. And so, some people like doing it. Like me, I like researching.
And I'm glad I
things.
didn't. Yeah, I just liked having a little bit of this game tracks, how you play. So you should think about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the game kind of taught that to me too. But yeah. Anyway.
Mm-hmm. So, I do also want to say, like you mentioned, playing through the entire game again for a different ending, and a lot of games do that. I think where Undertale handles it better than a lot of games is that there are still new things for you to find in the game as you play for the new ending.
Yeah.
Right.
And I love that at the end they could tell you they say this is, hey, like, you got an ending. If you want to go back and finish it, these are some, get a better ending. These are some things that you can go and check out. I thought that was good. But I do think, I don't know, but I assume if you kill things and you get a neutral ending, at that point you got to go replay the whole game, right?
I guess it.
I wanted to.
I think the neutral ending is where it tells you to go back. Because I was getting.
Can I explain it? Can I explain?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, let's have Nolan.
So yeah, there are 3 different endings. So there's the genocide ending, there's the neutral ending, and the pacifist ending. So Sean, technically you almost got to the genocide. The genocide is very intentional. You have to be very thorough with just going through each area and hunting it, you're hunting down all the characters. You're making sure it's not just kind of random. You have to it's different and a lot more intentional. The neutral ending is the first ending that you always get. So in order to get the pacifist ending, you have to have the neutral ending. That's the normal ending that everyone gets unless you're doing the genocide run. Now the neutral ending is it's very, very similar. There's not much differences when you get to the end. The main difference is when Sans calls you and kind of talks about stuff. There's 20 or 30 different. No, I actually not that much, but there probably 20 different variations of how he'll speak to you based on how you interacted with the game. Now, depending on which characters you killed or not, if you kill too many characters, you're not eligible for the pacifist run. But I think if you spare the vast majority of characters, you can go back and make that change. But you cannot get the pacifist run on the first playthrough. You have to. Part of the loop is you have to go through the neutral ending and then go back, because I tried to, in my playthrough, I didn't end up making friends with Undyne, and I got a different ending from both Cade and Jackson, because they ended up befriending Undyne before dealing with Asgore. But you, for example, when you go to see Alphys and go into the lab, you can't do that during the first playthrough. You have to go back and do it.
So if you kill enough things and you're not eligible for the pacifist run, that means you have to completely restart the game, right?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, at the end, it's basically variations of Sans calling you a piece of shit, and then that's it. Yeah. So if Sean, I'm pretty sure if Sean ended up playing through the whole game as he did, I think that's kind of how it would have ended for Sean. It would have been pretty not fun. It would just kind of be I don't know. Yeah, Sans would get to the end and call you a piece of shit and then move on. I just want to say, for me, for coming back to elaborating more on my playthrough, like I said, I was disappointed that I tried to be as, knowing as much as I do about this game and having played it before, I tried to do everything right, because there was the more times you play through this game, like if you have it saved on or downloaded on your computer and you don't uninstall it, like the game will track how many times you do a playthrough and it will say different things. Like, you know, when you first start the game, Flowey will be like, why are you here? Why are you back? You know? And so in my mind, I kind of was like, oh, you know, I have a new PC. I want to do like the perfect playthrough, but I wasn't able to do that. And that was kind of, you know, I wish it could have gone differently. I think for me, what hit the hardest about this game again was the neutral ending, kind of just like at the end where you can try your best to, you know, the messaging of you can try your best to do everything right, and sometimes stuff just doesn't work out. And you know, that's Undertale is different, and that's a video game, and it lets you, because you saved, you can go back and you can do something different. But you know, sometimes in real life, you know, that's just, you know, you can try and do everything and just doesn't work out sometimes.
Yeah.
So that message hit hard for me.
Yeah.
I'm curious what other parts of the game hit hard for everyone else.
For me, real quick, just pacifist ending. The fight when Flowey captures, full spoilers here, when Flowey captures all the characters and he's about to kill you, and then like Toriel's flames come up and block his attack, and then you see, like, I don't know, I think it's great to see all of the characters defend you, and they're all like, we're your buddy, we got you, we'll, you know, don't give up. But it's also like represented through gameplay, and all these attacks that used to be like were used to try and kill you are now being used to defend you, and you like recognize them too. You're like, oh, the spear, that's Undyne defending me, you know, the bones, that's Sans defending me. So I don't know, that moment was impactful.
Here, I'll say this. I'll add my little bit, because we've talked about spoilers. I mean, and this could probably be interpreted, and this was my focus for a lot of my thoughts, just kind of coming back to this game, and then being involved, you know, or just being aware of huge story things. Like if you know, with like how everyone has said, to be intentional to get the genocide route or ending, you have to be very specific about who you kill. You have to kill everyone in every room every time you encounter someone. And so, but that, this is both an opinion, or this is my opinion on, like, I think being evil in this scenario is really interesting, because you get some of the really cool moments that you wouldn't get otherwise. Like, that's just how it is. As it's a choice of things. Like, if you play the pacifist, you get some really cool emotional endings. If you become the complete evil death incarnate, you'll get some moments from characters that you did not expect to happen if you've had prior context. I think, and spoilers for everyone here and everyone online, you know, if you kill everyone, specifically up to every person you encounter with, every enemy you encounter with, you will fight Sans at a certain point. Yeah. Sans being the ultimate hardest boss in the entire game. And but narratively and as a player coming from, you know, let's say you play through the pacifist run and you've come to love Sans and all the other characters, you then go through this other route and you don't expect him to be this ultimate, I don't know what the word to call it, godlike entity who is one of the three characters. Exactly. One of the two or three characters that is aware of your saves and replays. He's like, I mean, you guess you could refer to him as a time traveler or something. He's very like Flowey. He's aware of you dying and coming back. Even if you fight and lose to him, he knows you're coming back and he'll acknowledge that. And I just think that's really interesting. I mean, and as someone who's come back to that and done some more research, it's just like, it's a mind-boggling thing to me narratively. Like, you have this all other context and you learn this whole new thing, and I thought it's interesting.
No,
I really like how the game rewards you with more content, more of the game.
Yeah.
Right. For doing cool and interesting things, the game's like, okay, and now you get a new boss fight. Yeah. You know, or some new character lines that you hadn't seen before that really flush something else out. Yeah. Yeah. Well, so one of the things that you'll hear online in a lot of spaces is specifically in reference to Undertale, you don't have to be good at programming in order to make a game.
Yeah.
Right? And while I do think that that statement is largely true, I think that it loses a lot of nuance. So what I'm particularly interested in talking about right now is the nuance behind that statement, right? Because what I see is Undertale is a game that its code base is kind of broken, right? It's really hard for people to interact with in terms of making mods, porting it, stuff like that. And also, it probably only worked for Toby Fox to develop this game in that way because he was the only person programming it. He was the only one working on it, right? If you're working in a team, you absolutely have to have well-structured code because other people are going to have to interact with the code. And also, I wonder if there's a way to find information about this online. Probably should have done some research on this before saying it. But I'm nearly sure that Toby Fox himself probably encountered a lot of difficulties in interacting with and creating the code base for his game because it was coded in this way. And then the other side of the coin is that this is a kind of game where, from a code-based level, it doesn't need to do anything super interesting or amazing, right? And Toby Fox made up for that with his level of experience and skill in music and character writing, right? So your game does have to have something special, right? That's the world we live in. Games have to stand out from each other. And so if you're not able to do that through code, that's fine, but you still need a way to do that.
That specific thought, that end bit of like, and I've said this in previous conversations off camera. I'm just like, even if your code sucks, and I'm not a programmer, but even if you don't believe it's good, or if even if it functions in a simple term to the game that you've designed, you could still, there's so many other elements to the game that will help it stand out, and Undertale really nails that so hard. We can dive into it more in a little bit about like its impact with all those elements, but I definitely agree.
I feel like it's just a testament to, like, if you have a vision, and you have the will, you can get it done.
Yeah.
I feel like it's less like, I don't know. I feel like that's why people bring it up as like this guy didn't know how to code for shit, but he had such a clear vision for the world he wanted to make and the story he wanted to tell. And that's why it's, so inspiring. And like, I don't know. I think it's a fun fact. And I think it's an inspiring thing. But it's also like, thank God he instead of taking all the time to like learn best coding practices and make a game that was stable and polished and X, Y, and Z, he made the game, and it left, the impact it left, whether or not it was polished or whatever is, that's what matters. So,
yeah, true. Your end user doesn't really see your core code base, right?
Yeah. So like, yeah. But it's I don't know. I guess that's all I have to say about it. I think for Deltarune, he got he has a team now, right? Like he has a programming team.
And fun fact, he kind of jumping off of what you said, like with the vision thing, like Deltarune came before Undertale. Like he released Deltarune in 2018, but he wanted to make Deltarune as a game before Undertale, and he came up with Undertale while he was writing Deltarune. Deltarune is it's a much bigger team now. That's also reflected with the price of the game. I mean, parts 3, the first 2 parts are free, but parts 3 and 4 are $25 on Steam. Also, to be fair, it is technically launching as a Switch 2 title. since it's one of the few games available on launch. But yeah, it's definitely a much bigger team, probably more the size of what we have here at Fernsprout.
I would love to see. I do think it would be nice. I guess I should try and I'll open up the Switch version because if
Yeah.
that does have refined, because there are some like base level, like the game is almost like mostly functional. I never encountered a bug, but it's also been around for a long time, so they probably ironed out some bugs that were there at launch. But I would love to see. I don't know. I think they did like one big push update to Undertale. Maybe it's so far gone that even adding a settings menu is like out of the question. But like,
Yeah, you don't need that.
something like with the money they have, and they hired a small team to like just update the game and add some very small polish features. You probably wouldn't want to touch the gameplay unless you were calling it a remaster or something, but
Right.
that would be nice to see. But it is what it is.
I think the next section's impact, like just kind of highlighting impact on gaming as a whole, indies, the genre. Why has this game stood the test of time?
How did this game affect the world?
Yeah, I don't think we need to go one by one on this one. If there's people who have like really strong opinions towards it, I think that would be the best way to go about it. I know Nolan probably does, Brendan, Cade. I'm gonna probably stay silent on this one just because I don't have as much of an opinion on it. But yeah,
I actually don't either. So.
I'll start. Can I start?
Okay. Yeah, Zach, go first.
Okay. Well, I had just both to myself and I believe kind of applies to a lot of people. I would assume. I mean, at the time when the game came out, like I've mentioned throughout the course of the whole thing, I was very much involved with playing it a little bit here and there, but then watching influencers play the game, and because of their efforts, they really also helped spread the popularity of this game, and it impacted like all the elements that we've talked about, narrative, story, gameplay, characters. It affected me in such a way it probably jump started my whole lore mastermind my brain my brain became big. No, really, I think for a lot of it really started cranking. The gears started turning. No, I mean, I'm honestly though, it sparked something in me. At least I believe was a part of a lot of things at that time. Where like, oh my gosh, you can tell a story in a really cool, interesting way. Characters have these really interesting backgrounds and their interactions with you, and the music. Just a lot of these things that I was starting to become really interested in, and already had been with making movies and all kinds of things that I was like, oh my god, this is crazy. And I'm sure a lot of people were in the same boat. They're like, not just in my whole narrative lore brain, but as like a fandom, just a player, not someone that even creates stuff, but just is interested in that thing. Like it sparked a whole new side of the internet that, for better or worse, exists now. So
a whole new.
What? But yeah.
Love it.
That was great thoughts. I think Undertale, I mean, I would say like Undertale is one of, I don't know if it would be fair to say like top 5 most like well-known indie games. It's up there.
Yeah.
It's very up there with like with it's a big game. It made a massive impact. It's very like, I think it's great that we started with this game because this is just a very like, this is an indie game. Like it's made by one guy. It blew up. It's it's a compelling experience. As for the impact, I mean, I think it's, like I said, it's inspired a lot of people. It helped inspire me. Say what you want about the community. I think it's definitely changed over time. I think it had kind of a stigma, especially when it first came out, of kind of a how would I don't know if toxic is the right word. Some people would call it the community cringe or whatever, and so that put
elitist.
some people off from playing the game.
Yeah.
But obviously it had, because it had such a massive community, it made a very big impact on gaming. And then just it's just it's a big impact, inspired people, and it will stay in the minds of many for years to come.
Yeah, well, it's a story that at its core, right, is about compassion, family and found family, friendship, that kind of thing, and it does so well. It's one of those stories that doesn't say, oh, you should have compassion for people. It makes you act that out, right? It shows you have actions and you have consequences, and the natural consequences of those actions within the story is that compassion is the right thing to do, right? And to me, that's one of the impacts of this game. Hopefully, I mean, I don't have any data for this, but hopefully it showed some people the importance of compassion, right?
Do you want to do your recommendations, Brendan?
Yes.
Oh yes, and if anyone else has any recommendations, okay. First, if you liked the bullet hell gameplay of Undertale, there's a game called The Void Rains Upon Her Heart. That is like it's Undertale if you flipped the importance of the gameplay and narrative. So now the bullet hell gameplay is really interesting and complex. And the narrative is largely still about the same things. It's about love and compassion. There's a couple of other things in there too. And there's still elements of the gameplay, like you have to understand who you're fighting in order to make good decisions about the characters and whatnot. But largely it is about the mechanical challenge of the bullet hell. Yeah, and then. If the thing you like about Undertale is the figuring out all the little neat little corners and pieces and whatnot, then perhaps try either Blueprints or Inscription. Both of those are games that have a lot of neat little corners and puzzles that are within and outside the context of the moment-to-moment gameplay that are a lot of fun to figure out.
Mm-hmm.
I think Inscription might be the next.
I think I agree with you
Yeah.
because I was thinking that should be for sure.
Maybe we'll talk about it.
Maybe.
Okay.
I will, since I'm the only one who's played some of it. I would say if you enjoyed the quirkiness, the aesthetic, and the world of Undertale, I think Deltarune is a great experience. It's Toby Fox's other product. I will say I think the game is still technically in development, and I think there's still more to come. Even though we just had 2 parts that were released, I would say as it is now, the story is not as compelling, and you get less choice. It's much more of a traditional JRPG where your choices matter less, or they don't really matter as much. But if you enjoy the kind of quirky aesthetic, and you want to see more of that, but especially in a more polished experience, Deltarune is a lot more polished than Undertale. I would definitely suggest checking that out.
Oh, one more recommendation. If you, along the same lines, if you like the quirky nature of the world and you're happy with a little bit more involved JRPG mechanics, then check out Amori. Amori is very similar to Undertale.
Mm-hmm. Jump into some trivia. So, I some of these are pretty hard. Some of them are pretty easy. So I guess I'll just go through them one by one. So, all right, first question: how does Mettaton switch to his new form? Brendan?
It's the switch on his back.
Yep.
Yeah.
Ah,
No one else can answer the question.
yeah, no.
All right, so I'll skip B because it's a little harder. We'll get back to that. How do you get past the Undyne encounter without fighting her? Jackson?
You mercy her, and then you walk up and you keep getting into the hotlands till she's too hot to fight, and then she dies. She doesn't die, but You keep
Cade,
walking
you
her,
look like
then
you want to answer that differently, Cade?
Yeah, you run away. You can't mercy her. You have to specifically run away each over and over and over again until you get to the.
But then you keep choosing the things in the interaction menu.
Yeah, because you can't do spare. Like the default is you usually like for
All right, that was both of those. Well, yeah, that was correct. All right, what are the 6 main environments that you progress through in the game? Jackson?
The ruins, Snowden, water, something,
Good enough.
hotlands, and then is Toriel's house one of them? I don't know.
You have 4.
4 of 5.
6. I mean, I guess you could say 5. Brendan, you wanna finish?
I'm stealing ruins and is shoot. No, I don't remember the last one.
Shoot.
Let me shoot my shot, see if I'm right, because I don't remember.
See if
So
you can
there's
finish it.
there-
Get the last 2.
well, is the barrier one, or is that like the kingdom? Because I would kind
The
of
kingdom.
okay.
The kingdom was what I was gonna
And
say,
then
and
I
then
don't
there's
remember
one
the-
more.
I don't remember the last one because I didn't play
I
that
know the
far.
last one.
Okay,
It's core. It's the core.
Yeah.
that's
the
the core.
core.
Okay, because I
Team
was trying to remember what
efforts.
the core. Yeah,
All right.
that's right.
Um.
That's right.
All right. So we're getting harder. So why was Alphys so afraid throughout? So part of her character arc is that she is afraid all the time, and so why is she afraid? And how does she overcome that? Jackson.
He's got it.
He's afraid because I think it's because she went behind the king's back and conducted a huge thing that completely messed up with multiple of the citizens of Undertale, and I think she also likes Undyne, and the way she worked through the Undyne stuff is that she came clean about the her research and was able to stutter a lot less. I totally noticed at the end of the game she was not stuttering it at all. So yeah,
That was good. Yeah, that was pretty much what I was looking for. All right, now we're getting harder. We're gonna go back to B. So why did Flowey have this? This actually kind of has to do. I'll say a hint has to do with the last question. Why did Flowey have the power to save, and why was he so evil? I'll give you a little bit of time to think about this.
I know why he was evil.
Cade has got an answer.
Cade.
So I feel like I'm gonna go too much into it, but like one of the flowers has like he like gives, what is it? I guess I don't know why he has the power to save. Maybe I don't have the answer to this. Never mind.
Brendan,
I
do you
know
know?
I
I
Zach.
thought it had something to do with the souls, and I couldn't tell you exactly because I can't remember.
All right.
I didn't look.
Yeah,
at,
maybe this was harder than I thought. Okay, so
That's okay. That's fun.
I think this might help make connections in everyone's brain. So Flowey is Asriel, right?
Yep.
And so when Asriel dies at the beginning of the game, where the bed of flowers is at the beginning of the game. When Asriel dies, his like ashes spread across the bed. They plant the flowers there, where Asriel died. The first flower that comes up, Alphys injects determination.
Mm-hmm.
If you remember during her experiment, she injects determination into the flower. The flower has Asriel's essence. It becomes Flowey, but it doesn't have a soul. Because it has
That's right.
determination, that gives it the power to save, because that's the power of the humans. The humans are able to save. And so, but there's no soul, so Flowey has no compassion. So
Do you know why? Do you know why he couldn't save at that one point in the fight? And he was like, "Why can't I save anymore?"
because the human souls took power.
He had his soul's.
Yeah. All right. Here's a this one again, harder trivia. All right, how did Toby Fox code the dialogue for the game?
If else. I'm just kidding.
Yep, it was a giant,
I did it.
very, very
Oh, while
long if
Yeah.
else statement.
Wow.
Oh, it wasn't a while loop. Oh, nice.
It was like I think it was like
It's pretty normal for games to
2,000
be
lines
coded in a while loop.
Yeah.
That's like how all engines work.
Yeah. Well, I thought he did a while loop though.
So here's another one. Who specifically? This is specific. Who specifically is the human you name at the start of the game? And hint, it's not the character you play as. Zach.
Oh,
Frisk.
I knew it.
Nope.
No, it's not Frisk. I googled it.
I'll
I knew
do
that
Jackson.
one.
Actually, you've answered a lot. I'll do Jackson though, and then we'll.
You name
Yeah.
you name
whatever you were.
you name basically yourself, but you end up playing the whole game as it's either you end up playing the whole game as Frisk or you end up playing the whole game as yourself, but the original. I don't know. I'm mixing them up. I don't know which it is, but
Caden,
the
you want
original.
to finish on that?
You're playing as Asriel's buddy, the first human that, or sorry, not you're playing as your name. You are the person that first fell, the
Mhm.
first human.
Mm.
Yeah.
Oh,
I thought that
That's
wasn't
correct.
true because they're two
Frisk-
different people. I thought
Frisk,
it was.
Frisk
It is.
is
They're two
the
different. Yeah. They're two different people. You are still. So Frisk is the player, but when you start the game, you are naming the first.
Oh, that's
fallen.
right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
You get called your name the whole game.
Nope. They don't think they refer to you, do they? They don't say your name.
Afterwards, I believe the character before
They
you
always call him Frisk.
leave the game and you go back, all the characters will call you Frisk instead of. your
Well,
name.
Jackson has a point because when you save, they say your name that you chose. That's where I think.
No one says your name. Your
Yeah.
name is used in the save file.
Right.
Um,
But like
no-
when you
no
go to the start, it's
character
like,
says your
hey,
name.
blank. You know.
Yeah,
So.
but so does that?
You're right.
Yeah, I don't
You're
know.
right.
Let's move on. It's fine.
All right.
You are
Okay,
right.
who's the name of the muscular horse mermaid Cade mentioned earlier?
I don't
What's his name?
Isn't it Aaron?
Correct. His name is Aaron. All right. Now,
Aaron.
this is a
Aaron.
super deep cut here. I think Zach might be the only one who knows.
I know his name.
It's a question.
No, I know what WD stands for. That's all.
Oh,
Who
yeah?
is W.D. Gaster?
Can I say what WD
Yeah, go ahead.
stands
Yeah,
for?
yeah.
Go ahead, Sean.
Isn't it Wingdings Gaster?
Yeah.
It is.
Or
Correct.
I did come across that when
Yeah.
I was looking around for some cool cuts, but I don't know any of the actual lore, so I'll let
It's-
someone else guess that.
Actually, Zach, I'll explain more. Zach, you want to say what you know about?
Wingding. I think that's still like unconfirmed, but I might not be in 100%. Yeah,
It's
like
unconfirmed.
yeah, that Wingding Gaster's the whatever WD Gaster. He was the original royal scientist for the kingdom and fell into the core, or something like that, and then became like an ethereal being that kind of exists within time, beyond time and space. And there's barely anything mentioned. There's a few things here and there depending on your fun value. You may talk to a few characters that like reference him, but he's like a very like fourth party character that has no involvement with the game besides like some story elements. But
Yeah, Zach hit it on the nail there. So the fun value Zach was talking about, when you start your game, there is a number between 0 and 100 that is assigned to your playthrough, and depending on that number, certain things will happen, certain things won't happen. I believe if your fun value is 66, you encounter a small room where you see it's labeled in the code as Mystery Man, but it's assumed to be Gaster. And then there's also these grayscale characters who will sometimes spawn in and talk about Gaster in certain playthroughs. Yeah, WD most likely stands for Wingdings. It's because of that it is, and he speaks in Wingdings as well. It's assumed that he is related in some way to Sans and Papyrus because their
Scaly.
theming is Sans speaks in Comic Sans and Papyrus speaks in Papyrus, and so Gaster is assumed to maybe be like a father or something like that, or a
Yeah.
brother or something like that. Yeah, he's a very kind of niche, obscure character.
For
But
fun.
yeah, that's Undertale trivia.
Good job, everybody.
Yay. Video game book club.
We all
round one.
passed.
Yeah, I'm so glad the folks who haven't played yet got to play the game. I think it was a great starter. I think mostly everybody enjoyed the experience. Yeah, great time. Can't
Consider
wait for the next-
subscribing if you haven't already. Thanks to everyone who joined. Thanks for all who are watching. Hit like if you haven't. Thank you to the team for playing Undertale. We'll be back with you in another month. I don't know what we're playing next. You'll find out soon enough.
We'll
Sean
find
is
out too.
Sean. Why is Sean closing his door? All right,
He doesn't
bye.
want people to know
They're
what
committed
we're
to
gonna-
subscribe.
Bye. Say bye, Sean. Say bye.
Goodbye.